We took the stream completely apart, and this is what our rock material will come in. You're going to end up with a much more natural finished product. It kind of spreads that water out so it's not just shooting out in a jet like a fire hose. What some folks may wonder is, well, how do I take care of this? They're going to be able to hear that sound really well. It's like an amplifier. Jeremy here with Cable Brothers. So we're on a water feature rebuild, or at least a partial rebuild. So this has been a client of ours for a while, and he came to us with this existing water feature. This is probably 20 to 30 years old, built by another contractor, and this part of the water feature is working okay, and it's a gorgeous water feature when it's running. But what we're coming in here to do, and what the client was dealing with, was this upper stream was leaking, and actually had been leaking from the day it was built, basically. So we've got about 30, 35 feet of stream up here that we completely tore out and are rebuilding currently. So we took the stream completely apart, set the rocks aside. We've got new underlayment, new rubber liner, double underlayment to protect it. And we rebuilt it using the existing rocks and some additional material. Okay, so let's take a look at what a job site's going to look like when we're in the process of building you a water feature. This one's a challenge because we're in early spring. We're getting towards the end of March, and here in Ohio, as you know, March can be just wild. It could be 70s and sunny one day, 40s and blowing rain the next day, or snow. So it's a challenge. We're on a little bit of a muddy job site. We're navigating that through the use of some plywood. Obviously, we do have some mud to contend with, but we chose the shortest path possible to our feature so that we damage as minimal as possible. So right here, we were able to back our trucks right up this lane and get our material really just like 50 foot to where our main area of working is. So we won't have a lot to repair, but what is damaged, we will fix up. So you'll see material staged over here. We try to keep that as clean and efficient as possible. A lot of times this is what our rock material will come in. Here's your stone for the base of the water feature. This is what we call the river rock. What you're looking at, obviously, is a bunch of massive limestone chunks. A concern that we hear often, and it's understandable, we come in and we dump these big rocks when we're getting ready to build a water feature, and the question is, well, what's this for? I thought I signed up for a water feature. And that's because in everybody's mind, they see these flat rocks all stacked up and water running off these little thin shelves of flat rocks. By using the native material and these larger stones and getting them settled down into the soil, you're going to end up with a much more natural finished product. So let's take a look. We've got these rocks set in pretty low to the ground. Well, this grade will be built back up with mulch and some rock work around here. Once it's all said and done, the top of those boulders are going to be pretty close to the level of the mulch. We're partway through the magic here. This is a work in progress. You can see the rubber, you can see the protective mat that's under the rubber and on top of it. All these areas in here will get filled in with river stone. This rubber will get pulled up behind these rocks, and we'll backfill it with the appropriate soil and stone. We have little tricks of the trade to work this edge to where we can avoid any leaks and make sure that this water feature is going to work like a charm for a lot of years. So people may wonder what goes into the behind the scenes on a water feature that's built properly. So I'm standing here at about a 30 to 35 foot stream, and what we'll typically have at the pool, if it's got a pond at the end, that setup is a little different. We'll have a bio filter and a basket, and that's where the pump will live if it's on a pond. If this is a pondless setup, which is pretty popular, we've got underground, they're called aqua blocks. It's like milk crates specifically made for this, and that forms an underground cavity that's lined with rubber, holding the water at the bottom of the stream, that's all covered up and hidden with rock. There's a pump vault that sits down in beside those aqua blocks. And that's where the pump lives. It's easy to access. It's just got a top, a lid that's covered over a stone. You can just pull the stone aside, pull the lid off, and we can pull the pump if they want to winterize it for the winter or let it run. You're running typically a 2 or 3 inch line, just depends on the size of the feature, how much water we're pumping through this. That line, flex line, is going to come up along the outside of the feature. We'll bury that in the ground through the landscape, so you won't ever be bothered by it. It comes around to the top. So if you can imagine with me, and I know this is a little difficult with everything still in progress here, but our water source for the top of the stream is typically going to be that 2 inch line coming into the back of a diffuser that kind of spreads that water out so it's not just shooting out in a jet like a fire hose. You'll see that sometimes in a stream that's not built right. So that diffuser will spread that water out across a 20 to 24 inch wide area and pour over whatever rock we choose to use for our falls. That diffuser is strong enough to be able to set driftwood, stone, other things on top of it to where it's completely hidden. And when you're enjoying the stream, you don't see, again, that fire hose effect or, you know, a bunch of plastic sitting up on top. We actually want to have rocks that are higher than where the water's coming out of. It just looks much more natural. Having the appropriate amount of river stone and cobble through your water feature actually gives a cleaning effect. So it's a place for healthy, beneficial bacteria to live and to break down the solids like leaves and dust that are going to get into here. That's actually a part of the healthy components of a water feature. And then again, that water gets down to the bottom of your stream, back into your filtration system down there, and then gets pumped back up to the top. What some folks may wonder is, well, how do I take care of this? Should be pretty minimal care when the proper components are put into place, such as the filtration, possibly an ion gen, an auto dosing system, or the client knows what product to put in this. But that's a very simple piece of it. If it's set up properly, this is just going to run on its own all through the season. So most folks don't know that you can run a stream like this year round, and you'll get a lot of interesting, really cool ice formations and effects by doing that. The only thing you have to pay attention to is if it gets really, really cold and the water breaks out of the ice and starts running across the top of it, that can cause a leak. But in general, it'll usually form an ice bridge over the top, and what you'll get is the water gurgling and bubbling underneath of it. Gives a really neat sound and effect through the winter. But you can get full season enjoyment out of this if that's your intention. So if you're a new client of ours looking to put in a water feature to enjoy in your backyard, one of the questions that we're going to want to ask is, how are you going to want to enjoy that water feature? Part of that is where you're going to enjoy it from. So we're really going to try to take that into consideration. On this home here in particular, we've got these French doors coming out the back onto the patio. We've got a lot of different viewing angles, different broad windows. And what we're going to want to ask the client is, where are they going to be the most that they're going to want to be able to open up windows, listen and watch the water feature. And with that in mind, we're going to want to be able to orient the feature. We've got a nice wide stream right through here that's going to kind of just slow down. You're going to get that slow stream effect, and then it's going to tighten down just like it does in nature. It tightens down to this little falls, and it's going to crash over and probably get a good 18-inch drop right through here and into a deeper pool. One of the things you'll get with the rocks being formed like this, a little bit of a tighter canyon, you'll get a lot of echo, and that echo is directed right at the home, so they're going to be able to hear that sound really well. It's like an amplifier. Let's imagine it wasn't here. Let's rebuild it the way Cable Brothers would build it. And just imagine if this slope was just a blank slate. We didn't have this existing feature here. One of the things I'd like to note is you'll see the water spillway, we call it, or the rock that the water runs off of. The top one's here, and then it drops down here several levels. It's a pretty water feature. It does look beautiful, but if you notice something, if you hadn't picked up on it already, is you rarely are going to see a feature like this in nature. Really, hardly ever. Where you've got rocks that are jutting out of the hillside. So the water's coming out of the hillside, and then you've got basically the rocks all go back from there. So It looks pretty, gives you some sound. It's not totally true to nature, so that's something that if we were to start off with a blank slate, a lot of this rock work would actually be sunken back in, where you'd have more of a concave, and you would have falls that are actually built back in a little bit. Two things that's going to do. One is it's going to give you a better sound effect, so it'll kind of bring that sound forward. And then three, it just mimics nature so much more true. So if this was a blank slate, you know, we would probably rebuild this to where you have some multiple crashing falls instead of just out front here. We could have a falls dropping 2 foot over here and then spin around and crash over this way. You could get really creative with this kind of a slope.
Right now we're just cleaning up work, and the last little bit is what makes or breaks the job. So if you guys need us to rebuild a water feature or install a new, either way, I mean, we'd love to do it for you.